Hello, my name is Anita Bentata, and I want to thank Paula for the invitation to be with you all today. I'm really sorry I can't be with you in person, but I had some prior commitments today. I feel really excited and honoured to be able to share with you what may be some new ways of looking at your healthcare journey with CMT. I'm only a beginner in learning about CMT. You are the expert. You live with it every day. You also have a lot of professionals around you that have a lot of resources and information. So I don't need to repeat what's already out there and available for you. I want to complement what you have. And so as an expert in working for 18 years in mind-body psychotherapy and a range of other ways of working that I have studied and qualified on along the way, I believe could be really helpful in addressing many of the symptoms and challenges that you experience. So just a little bit of background. I'm a mind-body psychotherapist, I'm a hypnotherapist, I am also an integrative health coach. I have a certificate in fascia and foam rolling, as well as I am a yoga tune-up ball therapy practitioner, which is really wonderful for muscle health and fascia and the tendons and the joints so much, and for carrying stress. I'm also currently studying to be a restorative exercise specialist, which is all about alignment, how we sit, stand and walk, and how to strengthen and support the muscles to be how they need to be, and how to support our body alignment, because if our alignment is not in the correct place, we're creating loading on the wrong parts of the body that cannot tolerate that kind of loading. It creates inflammation and degeneration, and muscles get underused, misused, a whole lot of things. So the restorative exercise work really works to correct alignment and strengthen and support those muscles in the correct way. So I believe each of these areas that I have studied and continuing to study can be really valuable from what I understand, the symptoms of what you live with on a daily basis. So I want to let you know the symptoms of what I understand so you can see where I'm coming from. But if there's something important that I've missed or is wrong, I'd really be interested in hearing from you so that I can let you know what, from my background, could complement and support you in your health journey. So I'd understand that you want to reduce pain, that you want to release tension and cramps, assist ease of movement, assist circulation and flow throughout your body, inclusive of your tissues and blood health, and working directly to enhance and protect your peripheral nervous system, to enhance muscle strength and support your joints and all body interconnections, to support the fascia, the bones, the tendons and joints, particularly in your feet and legs, along with the muscle health, which are all essential for whole body alignment and health, to address those thoughts, feelings and habits which may inhibit your ease and confidence and stress levels, to support your skin, gastrointestinal health, any breathing challenges and any discomfort with sitting, standing and walking. So I've given Paula a flyer that lists some really specific ways, given my background, of how I would address some of what I have just mentioned. And I'd love to hear from you about your specific needs so I can make sure, as I said, what I'm offering matches what you need. Together with what I know about mind-body and the brain-body connections, and what you know about your personal experience, symptoms and ways of coping, together we can collaborate and create a bio-individual plan which supports your whole system. I'm here today to offer you another way of working that can complement you in your journey with CMT. My approach is back from many sciences, from a number of fields, and perhaps some sciences that you're not drawing on already. From neuroscience, from traditional Chinese medicine, from, as I mentioned, the cutting-edge research around alignment, and stress theory sciences, as well as more. I won't have time naturally to go through them all today, but really happy to speak with you at a later time, one-on-one, if you want to ask me more questions. So the whole body science stress theory approach looks at what happens in the brain and the body when we are stressed, and the limited and involuntary coping choices that get activated to respond to those stresses. Knowing about stress theory can enable effective interventions by working directly with the brain and body rather than challenging the stress symptoms and defences and trying to just push our way through them. By supporting and reducing those stress symptoms and defences in the mind-body system, which the defences is basically another way of saying it's the best way that your system has learned how to cope and manage with something that's been unbearable or overwhelming, so that we can allow greater availability to work into the brain-body core dynamic of your experience. This enables greater resolution, which otherwise may have kept looping and repeating in unhelpful stress habits which start to accumulate more and more stress. Another fact about the stress theory is that our muscles will absorb stress to protect the organs from receiving the stress. Then from what I understand, your muscles are already under stress. So the more we can create new ways of protecting your muscles and your whole body system from stress and redirecting the stress in more effective ways so we can focus on strengthening your muscles, the better off you're going to be. The better off your whole system will be. After all, a stressed muscle is a weak muscle. Also, the more we can resource our system to have more creative responses rather than coping to those stresses, internal and external stresses, the better off you can be on every level. So from another way that I work with neuroscience, I work to support developing new neural pathways, because the neural pathways get blocked when we hit those overwhelm and we don't fit those overwhelming states in ourselves, and we don't feel resourced internally or around us to be able to work in a way that feels more effective for all of who we are. So I work a lot with changing the neural pathways, and it really excites me when I work with that specifically with people, because they get delighted, because it's not like they're consciously trying to make the change. The change happens internally within them and comes out because the neural pathway has shifted the instinctual responses that happen for that person. Science also knows that the cells carry memory and that there is more than one brain in the body. Excuse me. So when we can work with those different intelligences in our body and listen to what it is they need and how we can respond to them, and we can have whole health more effectively. So what is mind-body psychotherapy? Psychotherapy does not just work with the conscious self, as I guess you're already hearing. It works with the unconscious as well, on physiological and psychological levels. We often know what we consciously want to change, but can feel limited in how to make those changes. Working with listening to the unconscious in the body and the mind as well as the conscious, and being able to work with more of what is going on, can lead to more effective results. Mind-body psychotherapy recognises that the mind is not separate from the body, nor the body separate from the mind. So I work with both the mind and the body, how they connect, process and communicate to each other, or don't communicate to each other, and how we can create maps that work better to allow that necessary communication to unfold in both hemispheres of the brain as well as between the brain and the body. I work with your individual life story, your environment, and the genetics and how that impacts on your life. Your lifestyle as well, of course, would be included in that. We are one person. Everything in our system is interrelated. And I know for me, the time when I had live blood analysis and got to see my blood under the microscope was just stunning. You really get a sense that we are this amazing universe and that everything has its own job to do and how they work together. And to be able to get into deeper layers of that can allow more ease in your life on many levels. Naturally, Western science has given us so much, but it, like everything, has its limitations. And so with Western science and Western thinking being very much focused on, I think, therefore I am, my mind can have control over the body, just do it, just get over it, all those kind of things can impact in being able to recognise how the mind-body system really does work with each other. When we're not being with that full connection, we can feel conflict, helplessness, self-judgment, feel uncomfortable and not know how to be with the whole of the situation. Certain things in our environment can set off involuntary vulnerabilities and not knowing how to adjust and respond to our environment. But when we can work with the whole body system, we can have more choice about what gets switched on and how to respond to it. Epigenetics is the study of gene expression and function, the study of physiological traits that are not caused by changes in the DNA. So it is possible through your environment, without changing DNA, to change your physiology. I do not know what this individually can mean for you in real ways, but I do know that it can be worthwhile experimenting with the different approaches that I work with to find out what can happen from you, just given in my own personal health journey, as well as how I have experienced in working with so many people over 18 years. And after all, there aren't any dangerous side effects with any of the ways that I work. I also work very collaboratively, so we're working together to create a plan. I'm always explaining, this is what I think would be valuable to use, this is how we could work with it, this is why this approach and how it works, all of those things. So we're not entering into anything that you don't feel comfortable or doesn't feel meaningful for you to work with. Some examples of people I've worked with. I used to work with a woman that had Raynaud's disease, and we didn't work directly with that, but we worked with the different stresses in her life. And one of the results from that was that she no longer had the symptoms from Raynaud's disease. A young girl also came to work with me at one point because she was on medication, and if the medication didn't work, she was going to need an operation. And she would have preferred not to have had the operation. So when the medication had run its course and the next step was meant to be the operation, we had a look at what we could do and thought, it's not going to hurt to do that. The last resort can be the operation, but let's see what we can do. To this day, she's never needed that operation and she fully recovered. I could go on and on with more examples, and there's also more examples beyond my work with other mind-body psychotherapists as well as other people out in the world. I know many years ago a documentary really impressed me about a young man. And the documentary is The Man Who Lost His Body. He contracted a rare disease which destroyed his sensory nervous system, and so he was unable to sense and feel his body, and without proprioception he could not initiate or control movement. He could not move from his neck down, and he ended up being able to dress, shop and move and do everything like normal, even though by the tests that the doctors did he still had that same disease and that degeneration in his system. But they discovered that he developed other parts of his brain that could build bridges so that he would be able to do those functions. So for me, that's just an example about how amazing the mind-body system is, and that it's often more capable than we realise, or more than what conservative science that perhaps, I guess, is doing the best that it can, of course, and is trying to protect us from failure. But to me, it's always worth it to, or often worth it, to be able to take a risk, especially when there's not bad side effects. It's a bit like, I don't know if you've heard out in the world now how there's talk about what's good for you around fat, low fat or not low fat, and there's a big change going on about that. So often in our Western world we get taught information that's not the whole story. And it's one of the things I love about all the different branches of the studies that I've done, that they really work with the cutting edge about what really works and not what society is necessarily ready to receive. That's been with me since early on in my work as a psychotherapist, when I went to a training program and this leading trauma therapist from the States was coming and he was teaching us a certain mode of working with people through trauma that he hadn't disclosed he'd be teaching on the day, maybe because he thought people would not be interested because it was not traditionally accepted. And it was my delight that it was something that I'd already had been part of my training program, and he'd used this way of working with people from September 11, from Port Arthur, and yet even to this day it's still not fully recognised and acknowledged in the field of counselling and psychotherapy. It takes a while for society to accept new ways. So I want to offer you the new ways without waiting for all of society to accept. And you can pick and choose from the smorgasbord of what I offer as to what you're interested to work with me, if that feels right for you. So the brain can be likened to a tree with many intricate branches. And the neural pathways are like all those intricate branches. And the branches to what we do most frequently, most recently, and what seem to work is the ones that get well worn in our system. Perhaps a bit like walking down a path in the bush or walking down the street. We tend to historically go down the street the way we usually do. Or in the bush, we tend to perhaps take the path that seems easiest, take the well-worn path, not go through all of the branches and all of the trees and create our own path. But the easiest path is not necessarily the path which takes us to the most direct or most effective direction to where we want to get to. So I work to support people on physical, mental, emotional and life challenges, so that those places where you feel stuck and overwhelmed, and rather than you relying on positive thinking, willpower or toughing it through, because they're all time limited, so that we can build on resources so that you've got a large toolkit that you can always draw on, that's always available for you whenever it's needed, moving for any future life challenges. Coming back to you, I'm really curious about your experience, and I've got many questions, and one of my questions is, have you been tested for your cortisol levels? Because if your system is locked in a habitual stress response, when we're only meant to be in brief spurts in that stress response to activate something and then switch back off again, if we're in those stress responses for longer than is appropriate for our system, it contributes to degeneration with our tissues. It impacts our blood flow, our bone health, our thinking, our processing. We can get a foggy head. It affects our circulation. Our thinking can be jumbled. It impacts in so many different ways. So I'm really curious about what your awareness is of your cortisol levels and how do you address that in simple, effective, day-to-day ways that are not expensive. I'm also curious to know about sorry, I've said that bit already. So I've written out a healing program of working with CMT based on what I understand are your core needs. But I'm waiting for you so we can build flow and strength in your whole mind-body system and adjust what I have on offer for you to what suits you. My approach is to prioritise and address all concerns on as many levels as possible so your whole system is supported in every possible way with mind-body health. I invite you to take a look and read my flyer, because I've listed some specific things that I haven't mentioned here that are in connection directly to your symptoms, and I'd be interested to hear your feedback. I'd love to work with you individually or in small groups. I'm flexible to create something that will work for you. Please ring or email me at any time. Thank you.